Acharya Astotara Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pari Rajakacharya Astotara Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Sachinandana Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jaya Shri Rupa Sanata Bhatta Raghunatha Shijiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Pranath Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. ISKCON Bharma Guru Vrinda Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gora Pramanande, Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Guranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayan Namaskritya. Naram Jaiva Narottamam. Devam Saraswatam Vyasam. Tadojayam Hiridayat. Nastapreshu Abhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhaktir Bhavati Nami. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by the rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. All right. Good morning, everybody. I haven't seen you before. What are your names? And you're here visiting?
Yeah.
Okay. For how long will you be here?
Maybe 1.5 months.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Okay, so today is December 28th, 2025, and we are reading Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 31, Narada instructs the Prachetas, and we're doing verse 19. Dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushtyayena kenava sarvendriyopashantya cha tushtyaso janardana dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushtyayena kenava sarvendriyopashantya cha tushtyaso janardana dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushtyayena kenava sarvendriyopashantya cha tushtyaso janardana. Okay, please chant.
Dayaya sarvabhuteshu
Dayaya sarvabhuteshu
santushtyayena kenava
santushtyayena kenava
sarvendriyopashantya cha
sarvendriyopashantya cha
tushtyaso janardana
tushtyaso janardana
Dayaya sarvabhuteshu
Dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushtyayena kenava sarvendriyopashantya cha tushtyaso janardana
Dayaya sarvabhuteshu
Dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushtyayena kenava sarvendriyopashantya cha tushtyaso janardana
Dayaya sarvabhuteshu
Dayaya sarvabhuteshu
santushtyayena kenava
santushtyayena kenava
sarvendriyopashantya cha
sarvendriyopashantya cha
tushtyaso
Dushyatya Sujanardana. All right, word for word. Ya, ya, ya. By showing mercy.
By showing mercy,
Sarva Bhuteshu. All living entities. Santushtya. By being satisfied. Yena kena va. Somehow or other. Sarva Indriya. All the senses. Upashyantya. By controlling. Cha. Also. Tushyati. Becoming becomes satisfied. Ashu. Very soon. Janardana. The Lord of all living entities. Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana. Please repeat. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment. Mine says controlling. One can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Janardana. Purport. These are some ways in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be satisfied by the devotee. The first item mentioned is Dayaya Sarvabhuteshu, showing mercy to all conditioned souls. The best way to show mercy is to spread Krishna consciousness. The entire world is suffering for want of this knowledge. People should know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of everything. Knowing this, everyone should directly engage in his devotional service. Those who are actually learned, advanced in spiritual understanding, should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world so that people may take it to make their lives successful. To take to it and make their lives successful. The word Sarvabhuteshu is significant because it applies not only to human beings, but to all the living entities appearing in the 8,400,000 species of life. The devotees can do good not only to humanity, but to all living entities as well. Everyone can benefit spiritually by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. When the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna is sounded, even the trees, animals, and insects benefit. Thus, when one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra loudly, he actually shows mercy to all the living entities. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the world, the devotees should be satisfied in all conditions. Narayana para sarve nashkushana bipyati svarga pavarga narakeshav apitu yarta darshina. Bhagavad Gita 6:17 or Bhagavatam 6:17-28. It does not matter to the pure devotee if he has to go to hell to preach. The Supreme Lord lives in the heart of a hog, although the Lord is in Vaikuntha. Even while preaching in hell, a pure devotee remains a pure devotee by his constant association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To attain this state, one has to control his senses. The senses are automatically controlled when one's mind is engaged in the service of the Lord. Om Jnana Chamaranya Sakinanjana Shalakaya Chakshram Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha
Shri Chaitanya Manobhastam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakana Mayam Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Japarakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajitan Sahagana Ranganatham Vitam Tam Jivam Savadetam Savajitam Bharajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishkam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jakapate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radhakanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Anchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. So in this verse, we see Narada Muni is instructing the Prachetas in pretty much the basics of devotional service, right? How we can perform devotional service and be successful at it, right? So the first thing that he says in this verse is by showing mercy to all living entities. And Srila Prabhupada tells us in the purport, the best way to do this is by spreading Krishna consciousness. And so for us, that means, not just enjoying the process, enjoying going to a kirtan or enjoying some prasadam, all of that is part of it for sure. But also doing something that's going to help spread Krishna consciousness in some way. And so for everybody, that's going to look a little bit different. For some people, it's to, give classes or go out on Harinam or, talk to their friends and family, bring them to the temple, or to support the programs by coming, or by cooking or baking cakes, or doing deity worship, or making ghee wicks, right? Right? Or taking care of Tulsi. And these are all different things that actually help spread Krishna consciousness, because all those things work together to create this beautiful environment that is very attractive to others. And sometimes I think people sort of forget this, right? They kind of look at it as just like, oh, this is just some cool thing I can do. I can enjoy the kirtan and, dance a little bit and eat the delicious prasadam. But then that's kind of as far as it goes, right? And then they're not really, although that is the beginnings of devotional service, we want to go further. We want to take it further, right? And do something that'll help someone else become engaged in the same devotional service. And so there is a great saying in some self-help groups in 12-step meetings, right? They say, we can only keep what we have by giving it away, right? And so I always loved that little saying, because I found it to be so true, right? If we want to keep this love of devotional service that we have, and we want to keep this beautiful environment, well, we need to share it with others, or else it'll eventually, die off, right? And so we don't want that to happen. Sometimes people, every once in a while, will get criticized, right? And say, well, what are you doing to help? What are you doing to help others? There's, people that are struggling with mental illness. There's people that are going to bed hungry. There are people that are in the middle of war. What are you doing to help these things? But if we were to go out on the street corner and, just give charity to, there's so many kind of lost souls wandering up and down First Avenue. And if we were to give charity to them, give them money, or even shelter, food, everything they needed to live, oftentimes that wouldn't fix the problem, right? It might fix it for a short time, but it's eventually, after a little bit of time, they're going to end up in the same situation. And why is that? Because their consciousness is still the same, right? They haven't changed their habits at all, and they haven't changed their consciousness. And so So what we're doing is actually the greatest thing that we can do to help everybody, right? Is to help change the consciousness of the people that we encounter, and then by extension, the people that are encountered by those people that we encountered, right? And so on and so forth. Kind of like a chain reaction. I think there was a shampoo commercial like a long time ago. I think it was in the 70s or the 80s, right? And they said, well, I'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and so on and so on. And it becomes this kind of exponential growth, right? And it'll be about Krishna consciousness, not shampoo. And so the other thing that I really liked is, we need to show mercy to all the living entities, not just other humans. And so Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport about how we chant out loud. We chant out loud because then all the other entities that hear this chanting, they benefit. Let's see, it says, the devotee can do good not only to humanity, but all living entities as well. Everyone can benefit spiritually by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, right? And when the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna is sounded, even the trees, animals, and insects benefit. So, that's why we chant out loud. And last night, I was working in the restaurant, and this girl came in, and she was telling me something that had happened to her. She had seen a dog get hit by a car, and she ran over to the dog and wanted to help him, and he was injured. He did have like a broken leg, but other than that was mostly okay. But he was really scared, and so she took him to the vet, and then she said he was an older dog, and I was worried that they were gonna just euthanize him, and so she ended up deciding to take the dog home with her. And of course, the vet helped fix the leg and everything. And she said, "Is there some prayer that I can say?" She said, "Is there some prayer that I can say for this dog, to help him?" And I said, "Well, yes." I said, "You can say the Maha Mantra. You can say the Hare Krishna mantra, and this benefits all living entities." And so I even wrote it down for her and everything, and she was so happy. And I told her, yes, I said, we chant this mantra out loud so that everybody that's around can hear it and they have benefit from it, whether they're a dog or whether it's, the spiders in the room. There's how many spiders in this room probably, or, mice, right? And so they're hearing this mantra and they're getting benefit from it. And so that's what I told her. And so she was very happy. And then probably about a half hour later, one of the other customers came over and he said, "Oh, I heard what you said about the spiders and the mice." And at first I was thinking he was going to be like, "How dare you have spiders and mice in this restaurant?" But he didn't say that. He said, I thought that was great, how they are being benefited by hearing this mantra. And so he was benefited just from hearing me tell this other girl about it. He also heard it too. And he just was so happy about that, about this idea that we're not just helping ourselves, but everybody, the other animals too, and so that was very sweet. It was a nice interaction. And then also this made me think of my dear godbrother, Nadia, who every time we're like in the car together, sometimes we'll go to the car to, go buy, boga or something, and there'll be a group of us. And he sees, a dog running down the street or a person. It doesn't matter if it's a dog or a person or anything. He rolls down the window and he yells out, "Hare Krishna." And so you've seen him do that? Yeah, he does that all the time. And so that's, that's him being very merciful to all these people that are walking by on the road, or not even people, dogs, cats, whatever, and so I thought that was really cute. So So that's the first thing that Narada Muni talks about in this verse, is showing mercy to all living entities. The second thing that he talks about is being satisfied somehow or other. And so satisfaction is, something that can be quite hard to come by, right? Satisfaction is something that, most people are looking for. I know. Well, I was going to say, and if you listen to the words of Mick Jagger, right? He can't get no satisfaction. That's what he said, very famously. And so satisfaction is something that most people, I think everyone, is looking for, but it's not the easiest to come by. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter 17, verse 16, satisfaction, the verse says, "In satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind," right? And so I really think that's something people don't really think of, right? It's actually an austerity of your mind to be satisfied with something, right? Because we're always looking for the next biggest or more exciting thing, right? And so I wanted to read a little bit of that purport. It's actually a pretty short purport, but it is really good. It says, to make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can always be thinking of doing good for others. The best training for the mind is gravity and thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. To purify one's nature is to become Krishna conscious. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied, right? And so we see this in our daily life. That's the whole concept behind advertisement, right? We could be sitting here living our life just peacefully, not even realizing that, oh my gosh, we're missing out on the latest gadget or something, right? Because we're satisfied. But then we see these advertisements and we say, oh, wow, that refrigerator is much nicer than the one I have. Or that car is much nicer than the one I have. Or wow, that shirt is certainly very nice, even though you have, 25 shirts at home, right? And then suddenly you become dissatisfied with your refrigerator or your car or your 25 shirts, and you need to buy more. And that's because of this idea, right? Our mind, we see these things, and then we become dissatisfied with what we have. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification, and there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied, right? There's no boredom anymore, right? Now people are used to being entertained at every moment, right? You're at the doctor's office waiting. Before you had to, maybe talk to your fellow patient next to you, or maybe read one of the magazines, but that was pretty boring. But now, most people are carrying this in their pocket. They can watch a movie, they can play a game, they can talk to their friends across the country. So we don't have this time to be bored any longer. And so that's actually increasing our dissatisfaction with life, right? Because we're constantly trying to gratify our senses. And now, there's been talk for the last couple of decades about how the attention span of people is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, right? And so, if you ever get on the Facebook Reels or TikTok or whatever, and there's these short videos, right? And you just can scroll through them endlessly, right? And that's, if it doesn't grab you in the first half a second, then you just scroll right on by, right? And so because of this, always seeking for what's something that's going to grab my attention, we're actually becoming more and more dissatisfied. So what do we do about this? So Srila Prabhupada says, the best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas, and the Mahabharata. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity, and one should think of the welfare of all. Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. The person in Krishna consciousness observes perfect silence in this sense. Control of the mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment. One should be straightforward in his dealings and thereby purify his existence. All these qualities together constitute austerity and mental activities. So, satisfaction is something that actually we shouldn't just be waiting for satisfaction to come to us, right? This is something that we actually need to work towards. Because if we are just, walking around waiting for the thing that's going to satisfy us, it's never going to happen, right? We're going to look everywhere and continually be dissatisfied. But if we actually practice trying to be satisfied with what we have, and also work on, like Prabhupada said, hearing the Vedic literatures, this becomes very purifying and allows us to become more satisfied. And I've seen this practically in my own life. There'll be times where I'm more distracted than usual, and maybe I'll sit on social media and look at all those stupid cat videos and whatever else, and then I'll notice that I'm feeling very, very anxious and not satisfied with anything in my life, right? And I get very kind of grumpy. Whereas if I spend that same time that I was, looking at those cat videos or murder mystery or whatever it is, if I spend that same amount of time, but instead I'm reading, great stories from the Vedic literature, suddenly I find like, oh, wow, I'm super grateful to be where I am. I'm not pining for the next thing I saw advertised, and I'm much more satisfied in my position. And so this is something that we practically have to work towards, is that satisfaction. So yeah, and so Srila Prabhupada reminded us that a pure devotee can be satisfied in any condition of life, as long as he's in the service of the Lord. And so this made me immediately think of that story of Indra when he became a hog, and he was satisfied in that life, so much so that Indra, who's the king of heaven, he had gotten cursed to become a pig, and so suddenly he's got a nice little pig wife and some cute little piglets and a nice little mud pile to roll around in, and he was quite satisfied. And so when he was needed because of things that were happening in the spiritual world, he refused to go. He didn't want to go. He wanted to stay because he was completely satisfied. And so, is this the kind of satisfaction that we're talking about? No, this is just mundane satisfaction, right? And so that kind of satisfaction, I mean, we can have. We have, I've seen plenty of people. They're just satisfied that they have a nice home and a spouse and maybe a few kids or something, and they can be satisfied with this. But this is a very mundane and temporary satisfaction, right? Because ultimately, at the end of your life, you're going to have to give these things up. And for most people that I know, they actually are not satisfied with that. So it wasn't that mundane kind of satisfaction that we're talking about, because what that is actually complacency, right? You just kind of become complacent with your life. Sometimes I think about my mom saying, well, that's just the way things are. You have to get used to it. You're an adult now. But we can become complacent in any situation, right? There's so many people will say, if a woman's in an abusive situation, why didn't she just leave, right? Why didn't she just leave? Well, she was used to it. She became used to it and became complacent and decided, oh, it's too much trouble, right? But So this is not that mundane kind of satisfaction or complacency that we're talking about. So we're talking about this true satisfaction, because if you were truly satisfied in those other situations, if something better came along, you would say, no, thank you. I don't want it. But that's not the case, right? Most people, they'd say, oh, yes, I'm very satisfied. But if someone said, here, let me give you this brand new house, or this more beautiful mate, or this brand new car, you'd say, oh, yes, please, I will take it. I will take it. Give it to me, right? So we're talking about the kind of satisfaction where somebody could offer you anything, and you would say, no, thank you. I'm completely satisfied. And so that's a devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord has that kind of satisfaction, where even in a most hellish situation, they are satisfied to be doing the service of the Lord. Okay, so I actually called this class Satisfaction and Enthusiasm. And here, there was one more thing I wanted to read. So this is from the purport of the Mukundamala Stotra, Mantra 5. So it says, genuine religion, however, does not culminate in either economic development, sense gratification, or salvation. The perfection of religion is to attain complete satisfaction of the spirit soul. And this is accomplished by rendering devotional service to the Lord, who is beyond the perception of material senses. When the living being directs his eternal service attitude towards the eternal supreme being, such service can never be hampered by any sort of material hindrance. Such transcendental service is above even salvation, and therefore it certainly does not aim at any kind of material reward in the shape of name, fame, or gain. Right? So salvation, I mean, that's what many different groups are after. We know, like that's kind of what the Christians are after, right? They always ask, have you been saved? Have you been saved? But imagine being so satisfied in your position as a servant of the Lord that you don't even care if you're saved, right? And so that's a very foreign attitude towards this, because most people think, well, what's in it for me? Why should I do it? Well, but if you're completely satisfied with it, that's the reward in itself, not the not being saved, not that salvation. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was enthusiasm, because so I'm telling you, yes, you should be satisfied with the Lord, with service of the Lord. How do you get that if you're not feeling satisfied, right? And the other thing that is really necessary is enthusiasm. And so how do we become enthused if we're not feeling enthusiastic, right? Because this happens a lot. And sometimes people will leave because I heard one girl telling me she had come to I think it was our first Rath Yatra, and she was not having a good time. She had trouble finding parking, and she just looks at me and she says, "I'm not feeling the bliss. I'm not feeling the bliss. Where's the bliss?" and I told her, I said, well, I said, just calm down. Just let's just keep going, and maybe as you pretend to feel the bliss, then you'll actually start feeling it. And so she took my advice and decided, okay, I'm just going to try to be present in the moment. And then by the end of the Rath Yatra procession, she looked at me. She said, okay, I'm feeling the bliss now. So, and so it was very cute. And so what do we do? How do we become satisfied and enthusiastic in our service? So actually, we become satisfied and enthusiastic in our service by actually doing service. And by doing this service, we want to, if we start doing the service enthusiastically, at least, kind of acting enthusiastically, even if we're not feeling it, like 9 times out of 10, you're going to start feeling that enthusiasm as you progress. It might take a little bit. But there's, that saying, fake it till you make it, right? Now, that doesn't mean to, kind of give this false front, but just apply yourself diligently to your service and do the best that you can. And of course, your mind is going to wander and give you a hard time, but just keep going, right? In, what was that cartoon? Or is it just keep on swimming, keep swimming? Yeah, Finding Nemo. Yeah, just keep on swimming, Yeah. And so, right, Nemo's father was looking for him. He couldn't find him. And so was Nemo looking for his father? No, his father was looking for him. And he just kept swimming with a fish that couldn't remember anything. And she just told him, just keep on swimming, right? And so that's what we need to do, is just keep on swimming, and we will get there. I wanted to read a little bit about this enthusiasm here. So first, what time is it? Okay. So there's some great stuff, of course, in Nectar of Instruction. It's one of the first books I read, actually. So there's a couple paragraphs that I wanted to read here that address this. So I thought this paragraph was very important because some people have a misunderstanding of what spiritual life is, and this sort of addresses it. This is from the purport of text 3. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service. And for this reason, it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. So that's just a good paragraph to illustrate what spiritual life actually is, right? It's devotional service, not necessarily sitting down doing, that kind of silent meditation that is so prominent in the public's eye of what a spiritual person is, right? So further in this purport, it says, one should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in his particular field of activity in order to become successful. A student, a businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants success in his line must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. So, all right, so we heard that actually it's devotional service that is spiritual life. And then here we hear, okay, in order to be successful, we need to be enthusiastic in our devotional service and perform action for Krishna. A little further on, it says, endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha, or enthusiasm. The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of Krishna. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle speculation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. These activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning, there was no response. But because we continue to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna consciousness activities requires both patience and confidence. So I think I've seen people become discouraged, right? Because they are very impatient. Just like my friend at Rath Yatra, I'm not feeling the bliss. I want the bliss, you know. But instead, they become impatient and they decide, oh, this isn't worth my time, or I'm going to maybe sort of give the appearance that I'm doing this, but my heart's not in it. But if we can bring our mind back from that attitude and decide, if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to put my heart into it. And when we keep attempting to do that, eventually we'll realize that our heart really is in it. Some other things that we can do to help us to have enthusiasm is we want to avoid dishonesty. That can really kill your enthusiasm, right? If you're having to be dishonest with others, or you're presenting this kind of false idea of yourself, then you're feeling not very good inside, and that kind of just saps your enthusiasm, right? It's much better to be honest with others, and to be honest about where you are, than to give this false front, because that will allow your enthusiasm to grow. And that avoids hypocrisy too, which is another enthusiasm killer, right? If you're feeling like a hypocrite, you're not going to feel very enthused, right? You're going to be thinking, oh gosh, really, I'm just, a terrible person, and why should I even be here with these others? I've heard devotees have that attitude sometimes. You also want to avoid criticizing others. This is another killer of enthusiasm, right? Not only for yourself, but for the people that hear your criticism, right? It's kind of a downer. It's like, oh, what a bummer, because most people, I was meditating a little bit on all the people that I enjoy being around and that I find very uplifting, and they're never criticizing others, right? And oftentimes they're speaking, very nice, positive things about others, even though that person might have very valid things that could be criticized. Instead, they're saying positive things about other people, and so that helps the enthusiasm. And then we want to attend the programs if you're able. Now, of course, if you're working or something, that can be difficult. But if you're able to attend the programs and pay attention, listen and actually try to digest what's being said. And then this is advice I got many years ago in a completely different situation, but is you want to seek out the winners, right? The people that are doing well, and you want to hang out with them, right? And if you're hanging out with those people that are doing well, the winners, and you want to avoid the people who are unenthused, that doesn't mean ignore them completely, but maybe don't choose them for your close friend, right? And so you want to just hang out with the people that are enthused. And there's a very famous saying, it says, "Show me who your friends are, and I'll show you who you are," right? I think we've heard that. And that's because we take on the characteristics of the people that we're around. And this is, a known phenomenon, right? They always say, I always hear in reference to troubled teens, oh, they got in with a bad crowd, right? Because they're being influenced. And so it works the other way too. We can be positively influenced by the people that we're around. And so if we do these things, we apply ourselves to our service first we get some service, right? We get some kind of devotional service. It could be anything, making the giwiks. It could be, serving out at a meal. It could be telling a friend about Krishna, right? Whatever it is. But apply ourselves diligently to that. And even if we're not feeling enthusiastic, well, just show up anyway and do your best to give enthusiasm, right? You can stand there in a kirtan and kind of just stand there and do anything, or you could get up and you can dance around, you can wave your arms around, and if you do that, you'll actually become more enthusiastic. And then you want to avoid that dishonesty, avoid criticizing others, participate in whatever programs are available to you, and hang out with the winners, right? And if we do those things, you'll find that you're actually really cultivating this satisfaction and this enthusiasm. So let's see. Yeah, so I was thinking about the story of Dhruva. I found on YouTube somebody had made a really beautiful little cartoon of the story of Dhruva, and it was really nice. I shared it in one of the group chats. If you're interested and you're not in that group chat, I can send it to you. And so I was just really thinking about the story of Dhruva, and Dhruva, he wasn't satisfied, right? Because his stepmother had kind of really hurt his feelings, said, you can't sit on your father's lap because you didn't come from my womb. And so this made him very angry, and he was dissatisfied because he didn't have the respect and love of his stepmother and his father, right? And so he kind of went out almost in an attitude of, revenge, or I'll show them, and went out to the forest to meditate, so he could get a kingdom greater than his father's and his grandfather's, his great-grandfather's, which was the whole universe. So I mean, that's that's a big ask. And so when he was instructed by Narada Muni how to meditate on the Lord within his heart, and he gave him the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he started practicing this, and he was actually able to see the Lord face to face. And then he was satisfied with that, right? He no longer wanted that kingdom greater than his father's, his grandfather's, his great-grandfather's, because that connection with the Lord was so satisfying to him, right? Now, he ended up getting what he originally wanted anyway, but he became satisfied when he saw the Lord face to face, right? And so we also can do that. We can also do that. But yeah, and his dissatisfaction about not having the love and respect of his stepmother and his father, that's very similar to our dissatisfaction sometimes in our devotional service, right? We might be dissatisfied, like, oh, I don't, I'm always stuck, mopping the floor, I want to be the pujari, or I want to, give class, or whatever it is. This is very similar to how Dhruva was unsatisfied, because are we in a place to say, like, it very much could be just like your desire for respect, right? And admiration that might want you to do these services. If we can try to find a way to be satisfied in whatever service we have, then we're actually performing Krishna consciousness, right? So I think we can end here. I want to just say in closing that satisfaction and enthusiasm are necessary for success in our spiritual life, but it's also the natural result of devotional service, right? So that satisfaction and that enthusiasm is the natural thing that will happen as a result of devotional service. So if you're lacking in these things, you can get them by continuing with your devotional service, or taking up new devotional service, and just have faith. Just have faith that as you do this, it will become genuine, that enthusiasm and that satisfaction. And so I think we'll end there. If there's any comments or questions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah.
I think one thing that can help to maintain your enthusiasm is to have a certain amount of gratitude
Yeah.
and gratefulness that you have a chance to do some service, because so many people in the world, they're not even anywhere near a temple, and even if they're
Exactly.
devotees, they're isolated, Here you have a chance to dive right in, and, it's the perfect opportunity. So you always have to keep that in mind.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that is the whole purpose of life, is to perform devotional service. And so, yes, we're so fortunate. Even if your devotional service is to mop the floors, I mean, you are doing the purpose of life, right?
Mhm.
Which so many people, they don't even know what is the purpose of life, let alone be able to participate in it.
they kind of go hand in hand. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
I agree. Gratitude is very, very important. And, but I was surprised because he always says reading. You got to read.
Yeah.
You got to read you got to chant, you got to read, and everything else. Go to the program. And then it reminds me of that story. Somebody said, I don't feel like paying my obeisances. Was that and Prabhupada said, just do it. And then,
Yeah.
and then, just keep doing it, just like you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, wonderful. Yeah. And there was a quote that I was looking for from Srila Prabhupada that I could not find it again, but it was something to the effect of like, this is where we get our enthusiasm from. It's from reading, from chanting, from attending the programs. These are the things that are helping us to be enthused, right? Yeah. I mean, even the Gayatri Mantra talks about that. So yeah, Kirtanishvara Garangadas.
So Krishna says throughout the the Bhagavad Gita, that if you perform devotional service, you have to know his position. It says, aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarpavartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha, that when one understands I'm the source of everything and that everything's coming from me, then they can engage in devotional service with all their hearts. Priti purvakam, with all their hearts, they can engage. So if we don't understand Krishna's position, it's very difficult to perform devotional service. But the more that we understand Krishna's position, we surrender to Krishna, and we understand by the sincere inquiry and having that, cultivating that desire to know and understand, then we can easily perform devotional service. And Prabhupada makes that point too, that one may be affected by the desire for sense gratification, contemplating the objects of the senses, but if one develops spiritual attachment, they become attached to the activities of Krishna consciousness, they can cross beyond the pains and the miseries of sense gratification and come to the platform of doing service. So we have to understand Krishna's position.
Right, yes, it is very important, because if we don't understand the position of Krishna, then how do we know, which way to direct our service, right? So, okay, we will end there. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.